September 11th was 20 years ago. Like, for me, that's 5 desktop computers ago, 6 apartments ago, 1 cat and 2 pet frogs, and 4 TVs and 7 cell phones ago, and at least 5 bad haircuts ago. Don't get me wrong, 20 years isn't an eternity. And yet, it's enough time to forget the moments in your life that you promised yourself you would never forget. I'm making this video for those of you who are too young to remember 9/11. Or you may have lived in a part of the world where it wasn't a big part of your life, and maybe you weren't even born yet. But I'm also making this video for myself, to reflect and share what life was like in Manhattan at that time. I was just starting my adult life, and the event tore a big hole in the perfect reality that I lived in. You see, on 9/11, I was living only a mile away from the World Trade Center. I heard the crash. I listened to people on the street screaming. I saw people running from the burning buildings, and I saw the buildings fall, with people still inside. I also breathed and smelled the air for weeks to come. It was one of the most difficult moments of my life. 2001 was an optimistic time. The millennium still felt new and full of possibilities, and I was just starting to work in animation. Wait. It was more like this. I found cheap-ish rent in the Lower East Side of Manhattan in New York City. This part of Manhattan was a little different than what you would see in the movies. Apartments were old lofts and tenement buildings full of people from all over the world, and housing was tiny, cruddy, and expensive. Well, come to think of it, that part hasn't changed. This is where I lived in 2001. I made a watercolor as well. Bring a marker and you could write on the walls. Are those holes in the wall made by a drill or by stray bullets? Who knows? But you knew the stairs were original because there was a sloping indent in the middle of each step from all the years of foot traffic. Oh, yeah. And if you were taking a shower, be sure to look where you're going so you don't step directly into the toilet. And my landlord was dead. Yeah, dead. I never really knew who ran the building. Here's my room. Hey, at least there was a window. It looked out on another guy's bedroom. Hi! And sometimes when I slept in the room, I would dream about finding a secret door. And when I would open up that door, it would lead to a bigger room, only to wake up in this tiny room again. This was a reoccurring dream for as long as I stayed in this place. Here's a photo I took from the street outside my apartment. I think I took this around July of 2001. Why did I take this photo? I don't know. But it was about a month and a half before September 11th, and as you can see, the World Trade Center is huge, outsizing everything else in the skyline. So, I guess I should get to the actual day. September 11th, 2001 was on a Tuesday. It started out feeling like any other day. I had work at 10 a.m., so I woke up at 8:30 and started my day with a shower. Weather was warm, sunny. I had a bowl of cinnamon life for breakfast, and I sat at the windowsill and looked towards the east, as I usually did, facing the opposite direction of the towers. It was around 9 a.m. that I noticed something seemed off. There was a commotion on the street and groups of people facing west and talking loudly. My first thought was that there was a bad car accident outside my apartment, which in New York can really draw a crowd. I knew that wasn't the case when I saw an elderly woman crossing the street and do this. What on earth is she looking at? 2 planes just hit the World Trade Center. The terrorists are here. That's my neighbor. She saw one of the planes fly into the towers on her way to the subway. I wasn't in my work clothes yet, but I decided to head up to the roof with my fellow neighbors joining me. I stepped out to the roof of their 6-story walk-up to see the World Trade Center, smoking like 2 tall cigarettes. Not knowing what to do, I ran down to make sure my roommates were awake, and then I grabbed my camera gear, an old 35mm camera with a few extra lenses. I felt helpless at that moment, and with half a roll of film in my camera, I started taking photos. It all felt pretty surreal, but I wasn't prepared for what would happen next.